Welcome to this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast, where we look forward to shaving every day. Welcome to episode 108 of the podcast. My name is Rick DeWeese. I'll be your host this week. All right, so this week we're going to start off with a shave of the day. I was able to get a package to someone internationally. Off to the land of Oz it goes. And it made it, apparently. Good stuff. Talk about that. The Saturday shave of the day, and since it was a rainy day, well, I sat around watching YouTube videos, and one of them that I found that was really interesting was actually a 12-part series. I never knew that this was so complicated. 12-part series just to build the handle. Just the handle of a samurai katana. Wow. So I was enthralled with that while it was raining outside, and everybody was, hoping that it would stop. The Monday shave of the day is next. Talk about preparedness. You know, one of the things that came to light over the course of the weekend and, the beginning or the end of last week was all the rain that we had here in South Carolina. It was, in fact, an epic storm, but it brings to mind a few things. And are you prepared for, common emergencies, lights going out, things like that? We'll talk about it. We'll also talk about the Wednesday shave of the day next. I talk a little bit about my saga just for a pair of steel-toed shoes. It's still not finished, but it's ongoing. But why is it so difficult? I mean, my gosh, if you're going to have something for sale, make it easy for someone to actually buy it. Isn't that the point? Amazing. Anyhow, we'll talk about that. And finally, revel in it. Revel in life. Revel in what you have. Surround yourself with good stuff, and then, by gosh, enjoy it. Revel in it. Look at everybody else as just, look, they got normal stuff. I got good stuff. Revel in it. You've earned it. Enjoy it. Anyhow, let's get on with this show. All righty, so it is Friday, and it is wet. It is raining here in South Carolina. We're getting the effects of the hurricane that is off the coast, and we're getting this rain that has been constant and continuous. The good news is that it has also been, at least in this area, relatively slow. So everything's just wet. Now, yesterday, it was downpours. It's like somebody just dumped a bucket on us. But today, it's just, it's just a slow rain. So it's not terrible, but everything's just wet. So anyhow, that's okay. They always say hydration's good for you, right? So the shave of the day. So the shave of the day today was with a straight razor. Used my my case straight razor, and I believe it's gonna need a honing. But we'll see. We'll see what I can do with it. Now, the reason that I say that is because I have not used a straight razor to do a full shave for a while. What I have been doing is I have been using my my single-edged or double-edged to basically do 2 passes or so, and then using the straight razor to, kind of touch up, do the 3rd pass, whatever. And because of the fact that there is not the same level of stubble, because it's already been reduced by the single-edged or double-edged, there is less, resistance, if you will, to the straight razor. Not so today. Now, the good news is that the reason that I was able to do this today is because I went to bed at a reasonable hour and got a wonderful night's sleep last night. Because it was nice and cool outside, and it was rainy, but, when you open the windows, it was fabulous, absolutely fabulous, and nice and cool, and a little bit of white noise from the rain in the background, and, everything was good. Woke up this morning early, refreshed, before the alarm clock even thought about going off, so great stuff. So I had plenty of time, so soaked up my smog brush, whipped out some Phoenix Artisan Speakeasy, and went, lathered up the speakeasy, and made a nice lather, by the way, and lathered up and proceeded to shave with a straight. Now, the reason that I say it may need a honing is that it pulled just a little bit, which was something that, well, wasn't really used to, because, and it may be just me, because of the way that I have been, well, using my straights as of late. So when I go for 100% straight shave, it's, well, a little bit different. But it is pulling just a little bit, so I think I need to hone it. Now, that particular razor, I have attempted to hone myself. So I don't think I'll send it out. I'll just, try to do it myself. And that's kind of the fun of that one is, it didn't cost me anything, and I enjoy that razor, and I have attempted to do all the honing myself, and so far it's done a very nice job. So, yeah. Anyhow, the shave, 3-pass shave with just a little bit of touch-up on the neck, and there's only one spot that it's right under my chin, kind of in between my Adam's apple and my chin. It's just, and it's only one direction. If I feel it in every other direction, it's good. But if I feel, in one direction, I can feel just a little bit of bristle there, if you will. And that's the only place that I can't figure out how to get to. Other than that, yeah, I'm pretty good shape. But threw on some bay rum, some Ogallala Bay rum, and considered myself to have done a reasonable job with the straight razor, because lo and behold, not a whole lot of burning and stinging. Just a touch, but not too bad. And so for the first full straight razor shave that I've had in probably 3 weeks or so, yeah, I'm okay with that. That's good stuff. So, of course, I had a little bit extra time because I woke up early, so went downstairs, made myself a couple of eggs in the old cast iron skillet. Good stuff. And all in all, the day is starting out very nicely. So that was the shave of the day on this wet Friday morning. So I saw an absolutely fabulous Facebook post today by none other than Billy David Goldborn. It's on the Shave the Man Facebook group, and he actually received a package. Well, from yours truly. So yes, indeed, it did arrive down under. And as I replied to him, it's always with a little trepidation that I hand anything over to the U.S. Postal Service, let alone something that is going overseas that doesn't have tracking or anything else. But oh well, we took a gamble, rolled the dice, and it came up looking, just smelling like a rose. And so he got the razor that I sent him, which was the double open comb Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements razor. And so he got it, he used it, and he posted a Facebook post telling about it. And he said, and I love this part, he said, I want to start by saying that this razor is bloody gorgeous. It looks to have a bad case of small man syndrome, whereby inside this small, shiny, metallic object, there seems to be an angry, growling animal that is waiting to be unleashed. On the face, however, this doesn't seem to be the case. Now, it's no secret that this razor is said to be mild, and that is exactly what I found. And, well, that's what I found, too. But he did say he was looking for a mild shaver, and that's why it seemed like the right thing to do. And so off it went into the mail. Worked out great for everybody. And it was quite an experience for me because when I first went to the post office, I said, okay, how much to ship this? And they said, oh, well, first class is like $50 or $70 or something. It was something outrageous. I was just like, you got to be kidding me. So I did a little perusing on the internet. So finally I went down and I said, okay, how much to ship this? First class. No insurance, no tracking. Just put it in an envelope, boom, off it goes. And if it gets there, great. And if it doesn't, oh well. That was much more reasonable. So off it went. And I'm glad he got it. And that's one of the nice things that we can do as part of the shaving community is share the wealth. Is, if you've got something that you're not using and you find somebody who would be interested in it, send it to them. It's not that big a deal. It's part of the brotherhood of the hobby. And besides, sometimes it's kind of fun to just get a package and it's like, wow, I didn't know if this thing was going to show up at all, but here it is. Man, this is cool. So it was good stuff. And like I said, it was really good that he got it and that he was able to post about it, and great stuff. So, Billy, cheers. Okay, it has been raining here because, we got a hurricane that's coming through the area, and it has brought rain like you wouldn't imagine. So if you're in a place that's suffering from a drought, I'm sorry, but we're not quite getting flooded out. Certain parts of the state are, I'm sure, but it's pretty rough. But anyhow, let's talk about the shave of the day. The shave of the day today was with my Samog SOC, my big boar brush, and threw on a little deluxe shaving wood bridge and rosemary, and just turned out excellent. Now, I did bloom it this morning just to pick up a little bit more soap, and wow, you want to talk about a difference. Holy cow. It's a soft soap to begin with, and when you bloom a soft soap, and by blooming, I mean just put a little bit of water in it when you jump in the shower while you're soaking the brush, and let that soak and soften the top of the soap. And then when you go to load it like normal, after you pour the water off, it's like, holy cow, talk about a load. And because of that, you end up with an absolutely luxurious lather that's creamy and has plenty of cushion and glide, and just, if you do that with a good quality soap, you're gonna get a good quality lather. It really seems to work out well. And if you're having problems with loading your brush or getting a good lather with a hard soap, try blooming it. It will make a difference. It will soften it up a little bit to allow you to get a little bit more on the brush, and that way you don't have to spend 2 or 3 minutes sitting there trying to load the brush, making a mess and doing all that. You do it pretty quickly. So anyhow, great lather and beautiful scent, and that's one of the reasons that I still have that soap, is because I love the scent of it. But I picked up my my Aristocrat. Just wanted to do something simple today. Now, I did go and strop the snot out of my my little case razor. That was my case straight razor, the one that was pulling just a little bit the other day. And I didn't give it the opportunity to pull because I picked up an Aristocrat to do the first pass with. Now, after that, I used the straight. But the first pass, I went with the Aristocrat with a feather blade in it, and did a good job. Now, I will say that there was just yes, my razor still needs to be honed. I get that. But it was better. Let's put it that way. So, the other thing that I've noticed is stropping. When I first started out stropping, I cut up my strop. I mean, I've got nicks in it, and it's all down on one end. It's all down on the hand end. Now, up on the other end, for some reason, I never had an issue. It was more of the coordination of the start, if you will. So it's just curious. But I feel, okay, I may be wrong here, but I feel I could probably go and spend a little bit of money on a new strop and not tear it up. Now, I'm not going to say that the strop I have now is torn up by any means, but it's got a few cuts and nicks and stuff like that in it, and it just looks like, I learned on it, which is exactly what happened, at least on that big 3-inch strop. I do have another one that I use as an old belt, chunk of belt material, and I still use that from time to time, but I do like the 3-incher because you just kind of go straight. You don't have to worry about angles or anything like that. You just kind of straight back and forth. So anyhow, the 2 passes with the straight did a really nice job. No nicks or cuts or anything like that. So one of those times when you just kind of walk away going, yeah, that was a good shave. And threw some Stetson on there and just to, I don't know, do something different. I hadn't used my Stetson in a while and just figured I wanted to. And because it's been raining, other than that, I really haven't done a whole lot today. Been looking at knives. I'm interested in things that are sharp. And so been looking at knives, specifically knife blanks and styles of knives and things like that. And I'm thinking about a little fixed blade knife, maybe an everyday carry. Some of the like the Scottish dirks. I don't even know how you say them, sig dubs or whatever that fit in the sock or the boot. Those are kind of intriguing. The little. I've always had an affinity for little boot knives. I don't know. Don't know if they're worth anything, but I've always had an affinity for them. So I was looking at knife blanks and handle material and, coming up with some ideas and designs. And I don't know if I'll ever do it, but there you go. So, other than a very nice shave of the day, haven't gotten a lot done today. Although I must say, I have been trying to catch up a little bit. I've got a bunch of YouTube videos, a bunch of episodes on YouTube that I need to upload, and I've got them in the correct format now, and all I need to do is upload them into YouTube. But I find that, quite honestly, that's the slow part. Now, I can do this stuff on my computer pretty quick. It's the uploading that takes forever. It'll take like an hour an episode. I don't know if anybody knows a trick to that. Let me know. I mean, that's just. It seems like, I can make one of those YouTube videos, edit it off the podcast and everything. I can do that in about 10 minutes. But uploading that to YouTube takes forever, and it's all just upload speed, I'm sure. But anyhow, that's kind of what I've been working on today. It is a rainy day, and hopefully we're at the tail end of this. And luckily we did not get the brunt of it. Everything seemed to follow a little bit to the south of us, but it did. I mean, it just kind of like followed the highway right up the state. It was rather interesting. Anyhow, that's the shave of the day. I'm off to the store right now to go pick up some hardware because, well, I'm trying to fix something. And who knows, maybe I'll actually get something accomplished today. The tale of the sword. Okay, so I have always been a fan of sharp things. I've made a few knives in my day, thrown handles on blades and, made sheaths for them and tried to be new and different and inventive in my own way for putting the things together. But I was watching a YouTube video series about a guy who was putting together the parts and pieces of a Japanese katana sword. Now, he was using the traditional methods, and I have to say, I did not realize, in any stretch of my imagination did I think, that there were that many parts and components to a Japanese sword. Holy cow. The handle alone is made out of, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, there's got to be almost 10 different elements to the handle alone. Of course, I did enjoy the part at the end where they had to tie it all up with a knot. Well, that kind of, struck a nerve there, so that was fun. But it was really, really an impressive thing. And when you think that, back in the day, the way that it would work is one guy would make the blade, one guy would make the parts and pieces, the metal furniture, if you will. Another guy would wrap the handle, and that was a business unto itself. And I mean, even making the bamboo peg that held the handle to the blade. That alone was a work of art, really, and it really was amazing. And so I watched, just greatly enthralled as this guy put together the handle of this blade. And a lot of people think, okay, a sword is a sword, but what really makes it is the steel and the edge and the blade, and there's something to be said for the ability of the bladesmith to polish the blade and to get just an absolute beautiful cutting edge. But at the same time, there is also something to be said for the art, the absolute artistry that is present in the handle of a sword, or for that matter, the handle of a straight razor. Because quite honestly, when I look at these things, I think a lot about straight razors. And now the arts are not the same, but the craftsmanship that goes into them, well, that is kind of the same. Because there is a definite level of craftsmanship that is needed and necessary and appreciated, especially when you have one in your hands. You can look at a custom one-off build of a katana sword, and then of course you look at the ones that they had in during World War II that they gave to the officers, and that they just basically built by the thousands, and you can definitely tell a difference. It's really it's apparent. And when you look at the mass-produced straight razors, there is a certain level of quality, yes, but you can also, to a certain extent, see that, yeah, they're mass-produced. On the other hand, when you see one that is in fact custom-made and it's just absolutely gorgeous, and the artisan has put a lot of time and effort into it, you can really see that, well, they have put their heart and soul into the thing. And yeah, so it was interesting. I've always been intrigued by the wrappings on the handle. Little did I realize that there are multiple different types of wrappings on a Japanese handle. It's I never knew that, so I learned something. It's always good to learn, and I did, and so learned what the little paper wedges for, and some of the names of some of the parts and pieces. Although, to be quite honest, at this point, I can't remember them off the top of my head, but if I saw them written down, I would probably know where they went. So it's a good thing, and it was interesting to see the different uses of the different materials, and yeah, it was just fun. Every now and then you see a series like that, and you just go, yeah, that's good stuff. I'm glad they videoed that, and more importantly, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I spent my time to watch it. Yeah, sometimes that's a good thing to do on a rainy day. Well, it finally stopped raining, and yes, the Brush and Soap and Blade podcast is still here. We didn't get washed out, although Lord knows Mother Nature tried. Although it's nowhere near as bad as what some folks got down in the Midlands and down on the coast. Holy cow. If you have an opportunity to say a prayer for the folks down there in Charleston, because even though the folks in Columbia, South Carolina, got hit with a lot of water, it all goes downhill, and downhill is Charleston. They're going to get just absolutely hammered for quite some time. It's really, really devastating. So if you get a chance, think about it. Say a prayer for them. I know I did this morning when the rain stopped. So anyhow, the shave of the day, this morning, it was I was a touch rushed, not terrible, but a touch rushed. So the soap that I used today was Kel's Original, and it was Arabian Spice. Now, the last time, this one has a good bit of cinnamon in it. And cinnamon, menthol cools. Cinnamon does just the opposite, at least for me. It heats things up. And so when I first got it and pulled it out of the plastic wrapper and proceeded to lather it up, it was, well, annoying. Terribly so, as in, get this stuff off my face quick because it's burning. I couldn't tell if I was getting razor burn or whatever, but it turned out it was the soap. It was like, holy cow. Okay. So since that time, I set the soap not in a plastic wrapper, but just set it on my sink and let it sit there. And it's been sitting there probably a good 4 months. And so I tried it this morning, and it was nice. It was, as far as the feel of it went, I could actually appreciate the soap more so than previously, just because of the cinnamon burn, if you will. And anyhow, it was nice. It did a pretty good job, but there was still some. It was a lingering, and about the third pass, it was like, yeah, I need to get this stuff off my face, and I'm pretty much done. Kind of feel to it. So the Arabian Spice cinnamon-based soaps are not for me. I've also got another one that's a cinnamon-based, and I had the same experience with it. Well, maybe not the same, but real similar. So, not a big fan. They're okay, but not a big fan. So the brush that I used was my Samog, Italian Barber, I believe it was, the one that I used today. And, used my Aristocrat, Gillette Aristocrat, and, user grade. Definitely not a looker. But boy, does it shave well. Yeah, the finish on the handle's a little beat up. I mean, it's not bad. As long as you only look at one side, it's beautiful. Look at the other side and you go, yeah, the finish is wore off there and it's got a little bump there. But so it's definitely user grade, like a lot of my razors are. I like to use my razors. I like things that are, well, user grade. And they're more like tools. And I don't mind using tools. If they're investments, well, I get a little nervous using them. There's a couple of fat boys that are brand new, basically in the box, just kind of sitting there, and I don't use those. It's maybe one day, but I haven't used them in a couple of years anyhow. So anyhow, user grade it is for me, and unless I'm buying new stuff. But there you go. Now for the aftershave, a while ago, Joel sent me a whole bunch of stuff, and some of the things that he sent me are the Avon aftershaves. Sent me 3 bottles of Avon aftershave that were full in the old Avon styled decanters. That one's a car, one's a ship, kind of the side paddle wheel type ship, and then this one is a thermometer, and it's an old timey thermometer, and it had Tribute in it. And I wanted to try Tribute, and I'm not really a fan. The other two are a lot better. The other one, there's one, I think it's, I can't remember, it's a spicy or something. That one I like a lot. It's kind of got an Old Spice type thing going on, and that one I like a lot. And then there's another one, it's I can't even remember the name of it, but I enjoy that one too. Tribute, not so much. First off, when you throw it on, it doesn't have just a real powerful scent. Now, these things have sat in the bottles forever, okay? So you're talking, a long time. So it's possible that the smell has degraded or evaporated or something like that. But for the other two, it hasn't. This one, that may have been the case of, but overall, it's just, an alcohol-based aftershave with a slight scent to it, and it's okay, but I don't know. It'll be kind of like for me, it's kind of like the Dollar General version of the Old Spice aftershave. It's more alcohol than anything else, not much scent to it, and well, there you go. So, but I did want to try it, and it seemed to go well with the Spice Trade or Arabian Nights or whatever it was soap that I used this morning. The one with the cinnamon that probably won't be seeing much more use. Gee whiz, Anyhow, it's it's fun to be driving back and forth to work without having to worry about rain and flooded streets. So that's good. Got to watch some good football games. That's always nice. Good way to spend a rainy weekend. And of course, we've started on the homemade soups. And wow, you want to talk about good. Sitting down to a bowl of homemade vegetable and chicken soup while watching a football game, yeah, that's pretty good stuff. It really is. There's just something about it. And the veggies and stuff that we put in our soups are just, it's a little bit of broth and a lot of just, well, food. And sometimes it's a little difficult to get up out of the chair after that, but it's because you're well satisfied. So hopefully your shave of the days, leave you well satisfied, and we'll see about doing this again tomorrow. All right, well, we have survived another week, and it has been, well, a rather wild ride, if you will, for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's budget time at work. So if you're involved in budgets at work, yeah, it can be a mad dash to the finish. I'm here to tell you. Everybody asking all kinds of questions on, using half the data that they got. It's absolutely incredible the way we do things. But the other reason, of course, was because of the rain that we had here in South Carolina. Luckily, we didn't get hammered too awful bad. We ended up with about 6 or 7 inches, somewhere in there. But unfortunately, all that rain, well, it goes downhill, and that takes it into the Midlands and down into the coast on top of the, multiple inches more than what we got. So, yeah, it was okay. It was just damp up here. The biggest problem is that we had this kind of like this slow drenching rain that got everything wet and moistened everything up and saturated the ground. And then you had the big water, and it had nowhere to go except roll down the streams and, everything else. And then after that, the wind came up and, trees down and just general nastiness. And, as bad as it was here, it's nowhere near what it's like down on the coast or in the Midlands. And those people are going to be suffering through this for quite some time. So, think about them, say a prayer for them, and if you can help, give them a hand. But anyhow, here it was, like I said, it was just rainy, and the biggest thing that I saw, quite honestly, was people, and this has always been an issue. People drive one of two ways, at least in this area. I haven't, I don't travel a whole lot. So, when I do, I take 1 or 2 trips a year or something like that, and I'll drive somewhere, and it's usually not in inclement weather. But in inclement weather, what I have seen is there are 2 types of people. There is one type of person that drives at 5 miles an hour. And it doesn't matter what the road conditions are. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad or whatever. They drive, if there's something going on, rain or snow or a little bit of ice on the road here and there, they will drive at 5 miles an hour. And they will drive at 5 miles an hour in every single lane that is available. And then on the other side, you've got these people that just act like there's absolutely nothing wrong, and they're going down the road at 80 miles an hour because there's not that much traffic because all the smart people stayed home. And it's just incredible. It's like you got the people on one end of the spectrum, and you got the people just absolutely on the other end of the spectrum. And either they think they're bulletproof or they've got a death wish. I've never quite figured it out. But the thing that is absolutely amazing is that if you look at the statistics for traffic accidents, they are typically caused by people that drive about 10% below or 10% and more above the speed limit. And so it is exactly those two characteristics that some of these people display. And, or the flow of traffic, maybe not the speed limit, but at least the general flow of traffic. And you know the ones I'm talking about. You'll be driving along with the flow of traffic, and then everything will just come to a slowdown because one person up ahead is driving at, some ungodly slow speed. And it happens. I understand that. So, keep that in mind when you're driving. At least, if you can, try to stay up with the flow of traffic, and, everybody will be safer in the long run. But, that was the biggest thing, is people just driving like maniacs around on the wet roads. And these roads were wet like they haven't been wet in a long time. And it stayed around for, it was probably a good week that everything was just damp and wet and everything else. And so not real good if you had to work outside. It was okay if you were working in an office, except I'm sure that people had roof leaks and everything else and, power outages, and luckily we didn't suffer anything like that. But being a Boy Scout, I've got a lot of equipment, and power outages for us are not that big a deal. It's like, okay, get out a candle or get out a lantern, and here, have a headlight, and here's a flashlight, and and it does amaze me because I've got some neighbors, and if you ask them for a flashlight right now that worked, they'd be hard-pressed to hand you one. I've got them just about everywhere, and I carry one in my pocket. It's just, I've got them everywhere. But then again, I have been in places that were rather difficult to get in and out of when the lights went out. And so I know what light can be for you, and it's quite handy. That's why I've always recommended a good flashlight. And right now for the home, probably the best one that I've got is my Maglite 3 D cell, but it's an LED light. My gosh, that thing's bright. It's also pretty bulletproof. So, there is a preparedness part that, being a Boy Scout, I wish people would. I wish people would at least think about it, and it's not necessarily prepared for the end of the world. It's prepared for the power outages and the storms and the tornadoes and the hurricanes and high wind situations, or some maniac in a car driving into a power pole down the street and knocking power out for you. Those are the kinds of things that we should and used to be prepared for. And it's a good thing to be prepared for that kind of stuff. One of the nice things about wet shaving, for example, is that it's got other uses besides just grooming. In an emergency situation, you've got the ability to cut things. You've got the ability to clean things. I mean, shaving soap can clean wounds and things like that. It's not the first recommendation, but it's better than nothing. There's a lot of adaptability, and part of the thing that I think about is that because most wet shavers are people that are willing to try new things, and people who are willing to think, well, just a little bit outside of the box compared to normal people, that they're willing to think about things like, well, preparedness and first aid and things like that. Think about how you would keep power or lights on if you had to, if the power went out. Most everybody's got a $20,000 or $30,000 generator sitting on four wheels in their driveway. For a couple of dollars, about $40, you can get a nice little inverter that'll do a good job, especially if you put LED lights on the thing. Your batteries will last forever. Well, not quite forever. I think I did a study once, and an LED, I've got some little 4-watt LED lights that are real good for reading at night and, like in a bedroom or something. And I think one of those things on a 12-volt battery, I could burn it 24/7 for about a month before the battery would go to the point where I'd have to turn the light off. That's a long time. And the other nice thing about LED lights is that you don't have to worry about kids kicking them over or knocking them over because there's nothing flammable about it. And if you forget to leave it, and leave it on, okay, no big deal. You're not going to burn the house down or anything. It's something to think about, And then, of course, the other thing is, do you have enough food and especially water? That's the biggest thing right now down in the Midlands area. They got a whole college, a whole university full of students, and they're giving them like 3 bottles of water a day because that's all they've got, and none of them have really a way to hydrate well. They don't have a way to boil water or anything like that. They're college students. They're living in dorms. They may not have that kind of stuff. So it's something to think about. And it's also something to talk to your kids about, especially if they're going to dorm rooms and colleges and things like that. A little preparedness would go a long way. That's one of the reasons that I'm a scout leader, is so that I can at least teach a little bit of it to some of the boys that I interact with. Because at the end of the day, in an emergency situation, you want somebody that can do basic first aid, basic hygiene, and knows how to keep things, well, sort of kind of under control. So if you get a chance to think about it. Spend 10 minutes just thinking about what you would do in an emergency situation where you had no power for a week. Just a week. What would you do? What would you need to cook your meals, keep yourself clean, keep your family happy, or at least somewhat happy, knowing that the power's out? Granted, you'd probably not be able to power a 55-inch television in a PlayStation or anything. But, if you had lights and you had some books and things like that, and you could actually read to your kids or do whatever, could you do that? It's something to think about. And then you get into it, okay, what do you have going on if you have floodwaters to the point where your drinking water's not good, your toilets don't flush, because I hate to say it, but in a flooding situation, that's one of the things that happens, and it's not good. You usually don't have any water pressure, so you can't take showers. It's just, yeah. Anyhow, think about that. Think about being prepared. We prepare ourselves every single day to go out of the house looking good. We have enough foresight to prepare ourselves for that. Take a moment and think about preparing yourself for the common things that happen that really kind of screw our lives up. Just takes a minute. Okay, let's talk about the shave of the day. Interesting time to talk about the shave of the day because today it's after work. I was listening to something on the way in and it just kind of caught my interest and couldn't stop. It happens sometimes, so didn't have anything to report this morning because, I was busy. All right, so the shave of the day today. I have been using the last couple of days my single-edged Ever-Ready with a gem stainless steel blade in it. And yesterday I used some Speakeasy and some Ogg-Bore brush, lathered up some Speakeasy, and had a pretty good shave. Today, I was rummaging around in the cabinet, and I decided I was gonna just go for it, and so I grabbed the sandalwood. I grabbed the Castle & Forbes sandalwood, and lo and behold, it was a beautiful, beautiful shave, and didn't really have the same level of irritation that I sometimes get with sandalwood. Don't quite understand why. Maybe I didn't load my brush quite as heavily, and the lather wasn't quite as thick. Don't know, to be quite honest. So it was kind of an unusual thing. I just, you kind of like to know what's causing the issue, and when it doesn't occur, you kind of think to yourself, wonder what happened there. But regardless, great shave. In fact, did 3 passes with the with the Ever Ready, and then just a quick touch up on the cheeks with a straight and under the nose, and all was good. And even now, it's still a very close shave, all in all. So good stuff. Now the other thing that I did is I went down and I've got 3 bottles. They're vintage bottles of Avon aftershave, and the one that I used this morning was Wild Country. And one of the things that I've noticed about the Avon aftershaves in the vintage bottles, you remember the ones, or maybe you don't, but if you don't, I'm sorry. But for us, those of us that remember them, they always had the shapes, For example, the one that I used this morning was the side wheel paddle boat. And if you look at the box, it's got this beautiful picture of this paddle wheel, and it's all painted different colors, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And of course, you get the actual bottle, and it is a brown glass bottle that is in the shape of a paddle wheel boat, and the smokestack is gold plastic, and those are the only colors on the thing. And so you look at the box and you go, wow, this is really cool. And then you get the actual bottle, and you kind of have to use your imagination with some of it. As you can imagine, the details that are in the glass, molded into the glass, are not quite what is depicted on the picture. But, be that as it may, the aftershave inside, being Wild Country, is still really good stuff, and I enjoy it a lot. But one thing that I have noticed, now, when Avon was in its heyday for the glass decanters and the collector's bottles and all this stuff, I was not old enough to use aftershave on a regular basis, and so I've just recently been using these things. And one of the things that I noticed is the shape of the bottle. When you unscrew the cap and pour some of the aftershave into the palm of your hand, the shape of the bottle lends itself, in the case of the boat or the car that I have, which is it's like a Model T or something. I don't know. But in those two shapes, the shape of the bottle kind of lends itself to dripping just a bit of aftershave off the side of the bottle, which, depending on what you're putting the bottle on, whether it's, a wood dresser or something like that, can, be a little discouraging, I guess. Damaged finishes or stuff like that, but it's rather intriguing and interesting that, for as long as those, classic decanters were around, I never thought of the fact that just their very shape and the way that the spout, if you will, of the bottle doesn't necessarily, line up to an edge or is, easily wiped with the hand or whatever, it has a tendency to, drip a little bit of extra off to the side. So, kind of unusual. Kind of one of those things where, I never would have thought about it, except now that I'm using it, it's kind of obvious. But it's still cool. I wish they would come back with those things. It was a marvelous marketing ploy, and I know people that collected those things and thoroughly enjoyed them. And, I know people that collect those, the bottles still. And, but like I said, I do wish they would come back with those because, it was just a kind of a classic marketing thing to make something that was unique and special and different and, great for gifts and things like that. So, it's one of those things from a bygone era when, you had a product that you were selling and you made it, special. You made it just a little bit unique and different, more so than just, a different looking bottle, but a themed bottle. And Avon was known for that, and that was, something kind of special. Anyhow, I enjoyed Wild Country today and served me well. So thank you very much to Joel for sending me the Avon bottles. And so far, I've tried all of them, and I like the spicy, the Wild Country. The Tribute, I don't know. I'll have to try that a few more times. But for right now, I'm good to go with the Wild Country. So, on to the saga of the shoes, of my steel-toed shoes. Oh my gosh, what a story. Okay, so I go to 2 separate Red Wing stores. Now, the reason I go to the Red Wing stores is because the Red Wing steel-toed shoe, it's a 4408 if anybody cares. It is a Goodyear welt, made in USA, shoe, Oxford, with a steel toe. And it takes a while to break the silly things in. But once you break them in, they're the most comfortable things that you can put on your feet, in my opinion. They fit me perfectly. Now, the other thing that's amazing is that on average in my previous job, I walked probably about 4 miles a day. I mean, I just walked everywhere because that was the job. After 5 years of owning these shoes, the heels have finally worn out. Now, I can send them back to Red Wing, apparently, and get them resold. The problem is that the toe caps and the leather on them have kind of beat up and nicked up because, you know, in the line of work that I was in, well, that happened. So I wanted to get a new pair. So I went to 2 Red Wing stores, and they said, nope, been discontinued. What the heck? So I walk out of there, and I'm looking for options. I actually found a pair that are a half size bigger on eBay that I talked about, I think, last week. And those things are just, I mean, they're perfect. They're a half size bigger. I have to wear a little bit thicker sock, but they're perfect. Well, in the midst of all this, I wrote a letter to the customer service on the Red Wing website and said, hey, you know, what the heck? It shows up on your website, but when I go to the dealers, they say it's not available. Well, the Red Wing customer service person finally wrote me back, which is another thing. Why is it that customer service organizations, you know, why is it that they can't get back to emails but like once a week? You know, do these people not like read these things? Do they not understand that, you know, people communicate via email and texts? And if you're going to put a contact thing on the on your website, well, you ought to get back to people at least in a timely manner if it's something, you know. I understand for like my podcasts and such, you know, I usually talk about it that next week on the next week's episode. But, you know, when you're selling something, I'm sorry, you should be like getting it. And, well, they finally got back to me. It was about a week. And they said, well, those are available. I'm like, wait a minute. And I wrote them back and I said, okay, I went to 2 dealers and they said it was not available. What gives? They wrote me back and they said, oh, those have to be custom ordered. And I'm thinking, well, okay, why don't they put that in the catalog for the dealers so that they can actually custom order these things? Do they not realize how much they're just screwing themselves over by not doing it that way? Or maybe that's the plan because they're made in the United States and they cost more and profit margins are less. I don't know. I'm a conspiracy theorist for these kind of things, so you know how it goes. Anyhow, I called up the dealer again, and one of the dealers, and I said, look, they say you can custom order them. They said, well, okay. And so they're trying to get me a pair. And if they get them, great. But I'm here to tell you, a paying customer, should not have to work this hard to get something that a company makes. It really shouldn't. The dealers don't know they're available, you know, and the customer has to basically go and do the legwork. I'm not blaming the dealer because, quite honestly, you know, we looked in the catalog together. It's not in there. What are they supposed to do? It really is amazing. Anyhow, luckily, we don't have to deal with that in the wet shaving community because we've got vendors that, well, heck, they'll email you within minutes, you know, at least the next day and say, hey, what's up? What can I do to help? How can I make it right? You know, how can I make your experience wonderful? Yeah, it's not that way other places. So enjoy that and thank them because it's well worth the thanks. Anyhow, that's the saga of the shoes, and I'll let you know if I get the pair that I want. Hopefully I will, and we'll see. Well, one thing that I did do today that, well, I kind of enjoyed doing. I cleaned up my boots and realized that here coming up in, well, probably about a month. Well, no, it hadn't been quite that long. It's only been about 6 months, I guess. Maybe 7 or 8. I'm trying to remember when I got them. I'll have to go back and look. Anyhow, I wore them on a hike last week, and the hike was, I don't know. But by the time it was all said and done, call it 4 miles. And, it was rocky terrain and mud and just all kinds of stuff. And, well, they performed flawlessly. First off, they're comfortable, which, that right there just beats just about everything else that I have to put on my feet. I've got another pair of shoes, and that's my steel-toed shoes, believe it or not, that are just about as comfortable, but not in the same conditions. You know, my steel-toed shoes, they're Goodyear welt. They're, and I got a story to tell about those, too. Oh, my goodness. Anyhow, so I wore my boots, and they did a great job. Cleaning them up, it doesn't look like there's hardly anywhere, like nowhere at all visible on the sole or on the heel. So I'm real happy with that. And I wear these things all the time. And, I think about it that about this time with the Chippewas that I had, they were starting to crumble. They were starting to fall apart. These things look brand new and are as sturdy as the day that I got them. I mean, the only thing, the shanks or or not the shanks, but the part that goes up the leg, it's loosened up just a touch, but that's okay. It's exceedingly comfortable. And so they're just, the boots themselves are just sturdy as all get out, and they don't show any signs of giving up, wearing out, or doing anything like that. And like I said, I wear these things all the time. So the difference so far that I have experienced between my old boots that only lasted about a year and these things is night and day. It's like, it's almost the difference between playing with a cap pistol, for those of you that are old enough to remember what those were, made out of pot metal with a plastic holster, and buying an honest-to-God revolver. It really is that level of difference in quality. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. So, as I go, it's one of those things where, well, you get what you pay for, and it even goes so far as something as simple as paper. I went and spent a few extra dollars on a notebook that has heavyweight paper for my fountain pens, and it is a fine heavyweight paper. And the difference between that and even decent quality paper, that's just regular paper, I guess, is absolutely night and day. I mean, it's, again, the level. It just makes it so much more enjoyable. Just like my boots, they're so enjoyable just to put on and wear. And those the notebook that I have, it's enjoyable just to pick it up and write, which is just phenomenal. It truly is phenomenal. It's one of those things, and so, I'm trying to learn right now, for example, how to sharpen knives decently. I had a buddy of mine give me a DVD, and I try to buy good quality steel, and when it's available, and if I can get it sharp enough, then all of a sudden, well, it's a joy to cut. It's a joy to actually do things. It's a joy to actually, make dinner because, well, you have to cut things and prepare stuff, and if you have the right tools, it's actually fun to do it. It's enjoyable. It's like you can actually feel the blade just slicing through the tomato without even giving up any resistance at all when it hits the skin. It's like there's no resistance to cutting. It just, cuts. Isn't that phenomenal? And it's a mindset. You walk into it and you look forward to it. You look forward to putting on the boots in the morning so that you can go walking and just revel in the fact that they're so comfortable all day long. It's enjoyable when you pull the knife out of the sheath because you know that it's going to perform fabulously and cut beautifully. It's just amazing and wonderful, and you look forward to actually writing something down, and you even go out of your way to think thoughts just to write down so that you can, write. Because it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's all of a sudden, it's like, wow, this is great. This is fun. Well, it puts the excitement back in life again, at least for me. And I'm sure, as you sit here listening to me, you can probably understand, or at least, relate to the fact that, yeah, I'm excited about this stuff, because to me, it's good stuff. And that's the way life should be. You should revel in the good things. You should revel in the fact that, if you build, for example, if you've ever built a deck, just take this as an example, and you pound a lot of nails, and you go from a hammer, just a regular run-of-the-mill hammer that you pick up dirt cheap at like Lowe's or Home Depot, and an honest-to-God hammer that's designed for framing, or, has a smooth head designed for other work, but, an honest-to-God one with an ergonomic handle and wood, hopefully, because it absorbs some of the shock, and well-balanced and heavy enough to do the job so you're not wearing. It becomes an absolute joy to hold the thing and to swing it. It is phenomenal. It's the same difference that I have with good axes. If you happen to have a good axe, you get one of these. I've got a Fiskars. It's old, okay? It's back in the day when Fiskars actually had halfway decent quality, but it's a wedge blade. It truly is. It's a wedge blade. It can't cut worth anything. It's good for splitting because it's a wedge blade, but it's a little lightweight for that. But as far as cutting, yeah, right. But compared to my other, my Wetterlings axes or my double bits, it's like, oh, those are a joy to even swing. It is a joy to even listen to them cut. It's just phenomenal. You just sit there and go, wow, every swing and chunks of wood go flying out of the cut. And, you sit there and you beat on it with a Fiskars for about 2 hours, and you go, okay, I think I finally got enough where I can push the thing over. Meanwhile, with a double bit, a good one, like my Sager Chemical or my other one, it's like, you hit it a couple of times and it's like it's falling down on its own because there's not enough wood there to even, it's a phenomenal difference. And it makes life just enjoyable when you surround yourself with things that give you such pleasure, give you such joy to even just pick up and work with, that it really makes a difference. It truly makes a difference. And the thing that's interesting is the same can be said for wet shaving, for razors, for straight razors. When you pick up the tool and it actually works correctly and well, and you realize that it is so much phenomenally better, and you go, my gosh, this is what life should be. And then as you look around and you experience more and you know what you're looking for and you start doing it, you start surrounding yourself with that kind of stuff, and it's all of a sudden you have this zest for life, and other people see it, and it's like, wow, why are you excited about something as mundane as a knife? And you're like, whoa, let me show you this thing. Okay, first off, here, grab this tomato, cut this. And they're like, wow. And you're like, exactly. Everything I have, I'm trying to get to that level. Or when you take a straight razor for the first time and you get that absolute BBS shave with no cuts and nicks, and it's just perfect, and you go, aha, that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what life is supposed to be. I don't know about you, but I'm not here to be miserable every waking day of my life. I'm here to revel in it. Like I've said in the past, take life with you, kicking and screaming, whether it wants to go or not.
Well, that concludes this episode of the Brush and Soap and Blade Podcast. I hope you enjoyed listening to it as much as I enjoyed making it. If you have some suggestions or would like a topic covered, drop me an email at BrushnSoapnBlade@gmail.com or give me a call at 864-372-6234 or contact us on Twitter at BrushnBlade. You can also visit us at our blog, BrushnSoapnBlade.wordpress.com. As always, we're available on iTunes and Stitcher.